Cyrus, king of the world, king of Anshan, the son of Cambyses, king of Anshan. The great gods have delivered into my hands all the lands, and I caused the land to live in peace.
Cyrus, now 70 years of age, donned his armor for the last time and mounted his horse. At his command, the soldiers marched forth to defend their homeland against the plundering raids of the Scythians. Cyrus, who until then had never known defeat, was riding to meet his enemies for the final time. The years between 539 and 530 BC had been a period of peace and prosperity. The fame of Cyrus's magnanimity and justice spread so widely that by 535 BC, the states beyond the Euphrates, along with certain Arab tribes of the peninsula, declared their loyalty to him and acknowledged him as their great king. For 9 years, Cyrus devoted himself to building and organizing the administration of his empire. But the events of the summer of 530 BC shattered the calm of the empire's eastern frontier. Iranian nomadic tribes, known as the Massagetae, crossed the Jaxartes, raiding and plundering within the empire's borders before settling there. According to Herodotus, when Cyrus learned that the king of the Massagetae had died, he wrote a letter to his widow, now the queen of the Massagetae, asking for her hand in marriage. Cyrus's aim was to establish peace and stability without resorting to war. Yet Queen Tomyris, recently widowed, rejected the request of the great king. Cyrus, therefore, had no choice but to fight. Though now an aged man, he once again donned the garb of war and prepared an army. He himself assumed command, determined to restore order and tranquility to his empire. The Persian army set out from Massagetae and marched northward until they reached the Jaxartes River. At Cyrus's command, engineers began constructing boats to ferry the army across. To ensure that the Massagetae could not harass them during the crossing, Cyrus ordered that some of the boats be fitted with towers, from which archers could shoot in support of their comrades should the nomads attack. When Tomyris saw what the Persians were preparing, she sent a messenger to Cyrus. At first she warned him against continuing the war, and then declared, "If you are eager to test the strength of the Massagetae in open battle, abandon this futile bridge building. Either allow us to withdraw 3 days' march from the river, so that we may then engage you in our own territory, or you withdraw 3 days from the river and let us cross into your land to meet your army there." Upon receiving this message, Cyrus summoned all his officers and advisors to deliberate on the queen's words. Most of his commanders agreed that they should withdraw 3 days and face the Massagetae on Persian soil. But Croesus opposed them, saying, "If the Massagetae cross the river and defeat us, they will not turn back, and the Persian realm will be ruined. If they are defeated, what profit will you gain by pursuing them, only to fight again in their own land and overthrow them there? In my opinion, it is better to press them as far as they will retreat, lay an ambush for them, and then fall upon them, accomplishing deeds of greatness." He then revealed his plan for ensnaring the Massagetae. Cyrus judged the counsel of Croesus to be sound, and in accordance with his advice, sent word to Queen Tomyris that she should withdraw 3 days from the river so that the Persians might cross. He then dispatched Cambyses, his son and heir, back to Persia, together with Croesus, so that if misfortune befell him, Cambyses could govern the empire after him. On the first night after the army had crossed the river, Cyrus dreamed that Darius, the eldest son of Hystaspes, had grown wings from his shoulders, one casting its shadow over Asia and the other covering Europe. When Cyrus awoke, he was troubled by what he had seen in the dream. Summoning Hystaspes to his quarters, Cyrus, misinterpreting the vision, feared that Darius might rise in rebellion against him. He revealed his dream to Hystaspes and commanded him, "Return to Persia and keep close watch upon your son, so that when I return victorious, I may put him to the test." Cyrus crossed the river, and after advancing a day's march, in accordance with Croesus's advice, laid a trap and an ambush for the Massagetae. According to the account of Herodotus, Cyrus followed the plan devised by Croesus, a stratagem both daring and cunning. He left a small detachment of his army behind in his camp, together with abundant spoils, food, and fine wine, while he himself withdrew with the main body of the Persian host to a suitable position of concealment. When word reached Queen Tomyris that the Persian camp was weakly guarded and filled with treasures, she broke her 3-day truce and resolved to attack at once. She entrusted 1/3 of her forces to her son, Prince Spargapises, ordering him to lead the assault. Spargapises and his horsemen charged into the Persian camp. The soldiers stationed there, lightly armed and few in number, could offer little resistance. They were quickly overwhelmed, and the Massagetae seized the camp. Then, as Spargapises' eyes fell upon the rich foods and the sweet wine laid out before him, he chose feasting over caution. Instead of securing the plunder and returning to his mother's main army, he and his warriors indulged themselves. Soon, the Massagetae, heavy with food and drunk with wine, fell into a deep stupor. That was the very moment Cyrus had been waiting for. With his main Persian force, he suddenly descended upon the camp. The Massagetae, startled and reeling, tried to form ranks, but their senses were dulled, their legs unsteady, their weapons slipping from their grasp. At Cyrus's command, the Persians struck with overwhelming force. The disordered ranks of the Massagetae collapsed under the ferocious assault. Many were slain, others taken captive. Among the prisoners was none other than Prince Spargapises, the son of Queen Tomyris herself. Cyrus's ruse had triumphed, the first act in a deadly war that would soon exact a heavy price. When the queen of the Massagetae learned what had occurred, she immediately sent a messenger to Cyrus requesting that her son be released and returned to her. Out of magnanimity, Cyrus complied and ordered that Spargapises be set free. But when the Scythian prince recovered from his drunkenness and realized the grave mistake he had committed, he took his own life. The news of her son's death filled Tomyris with fury. With all her forces, she hastened to wage battle against Cyrus. According to Herodotus, this was the greatest battle ever fought among the Oriental peoples, and also the largest and bloodiest in which Cyrus ever took part. The forces of both sides were very similar in their military structure, each relying heavily on cavalry and archers. The Persians, as in their earlier battles, advanced in formation and moved steadily toward the Scythians. When the two armies came within range, the Persian infantry planted their wicker shields in the ground and began shooting their arrows. The long-range combat between the Persians and the Massagetae was fierce and bloody. Neither side gave ground, and they continued their archery until their quivers were emptied. Then they drew their spears and swords and closed in for hand-to-hand combat. The struggle was savage and deadly. Great numbers of men on both sides were slain. Neither the Persians nor the Massagetae entertained the thought of retreat. The Persians fought with such determination that nearly all of them were killed. A large part of the Persian army was annihilated, and among the fallen lay the great king of the Persians, Cyrus the Great himself. The fate of Cyrus the Great, much like the story of his childhood and youth, has long been the subject of endless debate among historians. The various accounts given by Greek and Roman writers regarding his death have only added to the complexity of the matter. The sole common thread among these reports is that Cyrus fell in battle against invading peoples. Xenophon alone relates a different version, claiming that Cyrus died peacefully in his bed. Modern historians, however, regard neither Herodotus's nor Xenophon's version as reliable, considering instead that the account of Ctesias comes closer to the truth. According to the account of Ctesias, Cyrus set out on a campaign against the Derbeces, a fierce and warlike tribe known for their valor. While advancing through their lands, the Derbeces, together with their Indian allies, suddenly emerged from their ambush and launched a furious assault upon the Persians. The Persians swiftly assumed battle formation and rushed to meet the onslaught. In the confusion that followed, Cyrus's horse, terrified at the dreadful sight of the towering Indian war elephants, panicked and threw the great king to the ground. Before Cyrus could rise, an Indian warrior reached him and struck a heavy blow upon his thigh. The immortals, witnessing this perilous moment, hurried to their sovereign's side and formed a defensive square formation around him. With unyielding courage, the Persians fought desperately to shield their king from the unending waves of Derbeces and Indians. Meanwhile, a royal tent was hastily raised, and the wounded king was carried inside. The situation for the Persians seemed hopeless. It appeared their end was near. Yet at that very instant, the blast of a trumpet resounded across the field. Amorges, the Scythian ally of Cyrus, had arrived with his swift horsemen and struck the enemy from the rear, crushing them completely. Soon, the Indians and Derbeces broke ranks and fled. Cyrus the Great had triumphed in his final battle, but the wound he suffered that day would soon bring about his death. Seeing that death was near, Cyrus summoned his sons to his side, that he might speak his last words to them.
My sons, and all you my friends about me, the end of my life is now at hand. I'm quite sure of this for many reasons, and when I am dead, you must always speak and act in regard to me as of one blessed of fortune. For when I was a boy, I think I plucked all the fruits that among boys count for the best. When I became a youth, I enjoyed what is accounted best among young men. And when I became a mature man, I had the best that men can have. And as time went on, it seemed to me that I recognized that my own strength was always increasing with my years, so that I never found my old age growing any more feeble than my youth had been. And, so far as I know, there is nothing that I ever attempted or desired and yet failed to secure. Moreover, I have lived to see my friends made prosperous and happy through my efforts, and my enemies reduced by me to subjection. And my country, which once played no great part in Asia, I now leave honored above all. Of all my conquests, there is not once that I have not maintained. Throughout the past I have fared even as I have wished, but a fear that was ever at my side, lest in the time to come I might see, or hear, or experience something unpleasant, would not let me become overweeningly proud or extravagantly happy. But now, if I die, I leave you, my sons, whom the gods have given me, to survive me, and I leave my friends and country happy. And so why should I not be justly accounted blessed and enjoy an immortality of fame?
After these words, Cyrus admonished his sons, warning them against arrogance, pride, falsehood, and envy. He then appointed Cambyses, his elder son, as his successor, while assigning Bardiya, his younger son, the satrapy of certain lands, exempting him from tribute so as to prevent rivalry and conflict between his two sons. On the 4th of December, 530 BC, Cyrus the Great departed from this world. Cambyses and Bardiya bore their father's lifeless body to Massagetae and laid him to rest in the tomb that Cyrus himself had prepared for such a day. Cyrus the Great reigned from 559 BC to 530 BC, a span of 29 years. The world before him had been harsh and cold, plagued by disorder and falsehood. But Cyrus proved that there was another way to rule. Instead of cruelty, he showed kindness to the conquered. Unlike the Assyrian kings, who mutilated their defeated foes, he treated them with generosity and welcomed them into the circle of his friends and closest advisors. Unlike earlier rulers, he did not destroy the cities of his enemies, but instead made use of them as his own capitals. He included the native peoples of each land in the governance of their realm, honored the gods of the conquered, and restored their temples. He unbound the captives and slaves of Babylon, sending them back to their homelands. Cyrus established a new order and taught future kings a new way to govern. Thus ended the life of the singular hero of the Iron Age.